This will be the first installment of my September crafty update. Welcome to everyone. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back yet again. If you have just stumbled upon my channel for the first time, I hope you see something that inspires you. And if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. This last month I tried something new. I tried filming every Sunday afternoon, and then I smushed it all together and posted it at the end of the month. And the feedback from everyone was that that seemed to work fine. Nobody absolutely hated it. Everyone was very positive in their comments, and I appreciate your feedback. So I am going to try to continue to do this going forward, at least for now, and see if I can keep it up and if it does indeed make things easier. This particular update will be quite short. I literally worked on 2 things this week, so I will talk about those. It was kind of a busy week. I believe in my last video I mentioned that my husband and I were going to start playing in a community concert band, and the first rehearsal was this past Thursday. We went to that. It was a lot of fun. I haven't had that much fun in a long time, actually. It was fun to play my horn for a couple of hours, and although I'm still rustier than I would like to be, I didn't feel like I was embarrassing myself, so that was good. Then yesterday, my husband and I went over and watched the SVSU football game. I am an SVSU alumni, and so the chance to go over and see the old campus and watch the band is always something fun for me. But he knew that he had at least one former student, possibly 2, that were marching, so he wanted to go over and watch them, and we did that. And then we went out to dinner at this place called Tony's, and so that took up a good share of the day. Today got off to a different start. We didn't go walking this morning, so I still have to do that yet today. I did go to church, and then I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and I stayed for the picnic they were having. And so it is almost 1 o'clock, and I'm just now sitting down to do this, but like I said, it should be short. I worked on 2 projects this week, 1 cross-stitch project and 1 knitting project. The first cross-stitch project is for my granddaughter, who is scheduled to be born at the beginning of next month. And I had been looking for a pattern to stitch for her and wasn't really finding anything that I particularly loved. I did come across a pattern that I kind of liked. It was a picture of an open book with mountains and trees coming up out of it, and it said, "And the story begins," and then it had the baby's name on it. And I really, really liked that, and at some point I believe I will go back and buy that pattern. But although mountains and trees could be for any gender, I felt like it looked a little more masculine than what I wanted the piece I worked on for our granddaughter to look like. And I had another idea that went right along with that. Instead of having mountains and trees coming up out of the books, what about flowers? Because I have a t-shirt that has a book with flowers coming out of it, and I have some digital images that are similar to that also. I thought perhaps maybe I could design my own. I'd never done anything like that before. I went online and I downloaded the trial of WinStitch, I think it's called, and I played with it for a little bit. I'm a pretty tech savvy person, but I think that that program has a bit of a learning curve and probably would take me longer to learn than I really have time for right now. So I reached out to Sarah, the Stitchin' Mommy, and asked her if charting a pattern based on someone's idea. It was anything she ever did. And she got right back with me and said it depended on the pattern. It depended on whether or not it was something that she felt she could turn around and sell in her Etsy shop, which makes total sense. And so I shared my idea with her, and she thought it was something that she would be willing to take on. So here is the computer mock-up of the pattern she created for me. And I was able to start this last Sunday afternoon. And I am at this point so far. I've made a nice bit of progress. And I'm hoping to put in another 500 or 600 stitches yet this afternoon. I have put this into Stitch Pal, and it tells me that I need to do like 180 stitches a day to get it done by October 2nd. I would actually like to have it done well before then. First of all, because I don't really think baby's gonna wait that long. And second of all, because I have other things that I want to work on. I am participating in Storytime September, which is an event, so to speak, that is being put on or hosted by Leanne Stitches, who is also known as Forbidden Fiber Co. And it's in celebration of her birthday, which I believe was yesterday. And so here's my Storytime September graphic that shows all of the pieces I have that are related to books and reading. 3 of those 4 are started. The one in the bottom right hand corner, the bookshelf, has not been started, but if I could get this baby piece done early on in the month, I would start that 4th piece kind of as my reward. So I am hoping to touch all 4 of those pieces throughout the month, which will hopefully also offer you a bit more variety to look at. The other thing I worked on this week was my shawl, and I am continuing to make progress on this. I don't remember for sure. I think I had just started this. Well, yeah, there's my stitch marker. That's the one from last week. I will leave that one there, and I will add a new one at the edge today. So I have added, it looks like maybe 6 rows, and I think there's about 18 of this border. I am not entirely sure that I am doing this point correctly. It looks a little funny to me. I don't know if I can get it to show up on the camera. It looks a little funny to me, but I think I'm following the directions correctly. Get that out of the way. I'm really just not sure if I'm doing it right. My hope is that it would not be so noticeable that anybody will actually see when I'm wearing it that it looks a little wonky, and that it will be okay. I really want to get this done soon, because this week I actually purchased a pattern for a baby dress. I think it actually came with like 13 different sizes, maybe all from like newborn all the way up through 2 or 3T. And I would like to try and see if I could maybe make a couple of those, one for my great niece and one for my granddaughter. But I really want to finish this first. I did not finish any books this week, so I have nothing to talk about there. I did not make any cards this week. I did not do any sewing this week. So that's it for this week. Hi crafty friends, today is Sunday, September 14th, and I'm here for the second weekly update for September. I apologize. I know that I am not the prettiest today. We went camping this weekend, left Friday, came back today. We got back maybe 1 o'clock-ish, and I've been trying to catch up on laundry and all that good stuff, and I did go in and walk this afternoon, and so I am what I am today. But you're not here to see me anyway, you're here to see my craftiness, and I do have a lot to share. So as I was packing my bag to go camping this weekend, I put like 4 cross-stitch projects in my bag, and I kind of thought to myself, why are you putting so many in here? You can't get that much done in a day and a half. But I am glad that I put them all in there. The first one I worked on was You Knit Me Together, and I finished it. It does still need to be ironed, and I have to figure out how I'm going to frame it, but it is done. You can see the words you and me together in real life. They show up a little bit better than they do on camera, but I am pleased with how this turned out, and now I just have to frame it and figure out where I'm going to hang it. After I finished that, I pulled out a project that, sorry, all my needle minders are sticking together. I pulled out a project that was on my Whipco board for September, and it is Ornament Snow Globe. It's a Shannon Christine pattern, and I don't remember where I bought this or when I bought this, but it has been in my stash for a long time, and so I had put it on this year's Whipco board to try to at least get it started, and the goal was 500 stitches, and I'm happy to say that I was able to get 600 plus into it yesterday. I also realized though that I kind of made a mistake when I picked the fabric. This is a 28 count white opalescent Lugana, so it does have the sparkly in it, and I picked it because I was thinking, oh, Christmas, sparkly, and I realized now that that was not the best idea, because you can see in the picture that the background is blue, and you can also see in the picture that there are snowflakes all over inside the jar and the snow at the bottom of the jar. So I'm going to have to figure out how to alter things so that that snow shows up. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Maybe do a blend of a super light blue with a white. I'm not sure, but I'm obviously going to have to do something because the white is not going to show up on the white opalescent fabric. The other thing I did not know, I guess when I bought this, I did not look at the pattern super closely. It has a ton of beads in it, and I'm not sure if I have the beads or not, so I will have to look through my stash and see what I have. But I was super happy to get that, but I was super happy to get that goal accomplished off my Whipco board. I continue to work on the baby piece for my granddaughter, and I have made sizable progress. This is coming along quite nicely. I do have this one in Stitch Pal, and it was telling me I needed to do about 150 to 170 stitches a day. I was quite a ways ahead on that, but I did not stitch on this on Thursday, Friday, yesterday, or so far today. I am hoping to go out and stitch on it for a little while tonight, so hopefully I'm not too far behind, and maybe in the next couple of days I can do a few more stitches than I'm actually supposed to, because I really would like to have this done well before October 2nd. And the other piece that I have things too far spread out. I have to work on that. The other piece I worked on for a little bit was my wow piece. You won't be able to see much of a difference. I mean, it's probably 75 or less stitches. It might even be less than 50 stitches that I put in. And it was up in this area. I say kudos to people who stitch in the car. I know Sarah, Stitch Your Mommy, stitches in the car quite frequently. I was trying to stitch on this in the truck on the way home today, and I wasn't. It was not terrible, but I felt like I wasn't doing a very good job. In knitting, I finished my shawl. So I believe that this marker denotes where I was last week, so I just had that much more to go. I finished it and I bound it off tonight. I'm a little concerned that it's not going to be big enough, because I think last week I mentioned I purchased a pattern for a dress for a baby toddler. And I was going through my bin of yarn to see if I had anything that might be usable. I was pretty sure there wasn't, but I thought I'd check anyway. When I found this. This should be in here, or at least some of it should be in here. Not sure why I only wound one ball of pink. So, I mean, it looks pretty big still, and I don't think that's not the way you're supposed to wear it. It's just like that. I mean, I guess I can. But, I don't know, we'll see after I block it out how big it turns out. I'm kind of a little more than irritated with myself. I am probably going to go to Hobby Lobby tomorrow and see if I can find some yarn and maybe start a baby dress. We shall see. Hi crafty friends, Katrina the Crafty Cataloger here, and I think I'm gonna put something at the beginning of this video telling people they can skip the first two sections and just start here, but we'll see how that goes. So if I have, and this is the first part of the video you're watching, welcome. Thank you for stopping by to see what I have to share this month. If you're new to my channel, I hope you see something that inspires you and you want to follow what I'm working on, and you'll consider subscribing. This is kind of a mess, and so I will try to explain why. And I have a Google Doc that I kind of jotted down some notes just to keep myself remembering things. So if I glance over to the side, that's what I'm looking at, is to make sure that I'm not missing anything. So I don't want to give up the recording on Sundays idea, but I kind of fell off that wagon this last month, and I will explain why. So Sunday, September 21st, I did not film because I had only worked on one thing all week. I had worked on the baby sampler, and I had put in a fair number of stitches, but they were all mostly in the book, so I didn't really feel like it was really that noticeable, and it would be kind of boring. And the only knitting I did that week was on gauge swatches, which I'll talk more about later. And the reason I was just smiling, I apologize, my phone and my computer are making all kinds of noises. I'm in a group chat with some girls from work, and I don't know, they're chatting about something, and so it keeps going off. Anyway, the next week I just didn't get around to filming. We've been going walking first thing in the morning on Sundays, and then I come back, get ready for church, go to church, come home, and then after lunch, I'll film. Well, that Sunday it was raining when we woke up, so we couldn't go walking. And then after lunch, my husband looked at the weather app and he said, well, it's not raining right now, but it's supposed to again at like 2 o'clock. So we decided to go to town and walk right then. And I think that just threw the whole rest of my day off. So I didn't end up recording on the 28th. And I didn't really feel too bad about it. I thought, no big deal. I'll just do it tomorrow after work. And then our granddaughter was born on Monday morning, very early in the morning. So I ended up taking a couple hours off in the afternoon, and we went down to meet her. I will put a picture up here. She is beautiful. I know I'm biased, but she's beautiful. And she and Mom are both healthy and doing well, so happy about that. Then the following Sunday, which would have been the first Sunday in October, I didn't film because I checked with my son and daughter-in-law and asked them if they were up to visitors, and they said they were, so I took my mom down to meet the baby. And then yesterday I had to work. So what I'm going to do today is I am just going to catch up to now, and then I'm going to try again next week with the weekly filming, which means that next months will only probably have 2 segments, but I also have to figure out how to do next Sunday because I believe I've mentioned before that my husband and I joined a concert band in Midland, and our first concert is next Sunday. So I think we have to be over there ready to play at 1:30. The concert's at 3. But I should still be able to fit it in, hopefully. Anyway, all that to say, I know that this last segment is probably going to be long, and I apologize, but it is what it is. I'll start off with my cross stitch as usual, and I did finish the piece for my granddaughter. I did not finish it before she was born, but it was very close, and I was able to finish it within a couple of days after she was born, and so I took it down and gifted it to them when I took my mom down to visit, and I will post a picture here. And I'm very pleased with how it turned out. This is a pattern that was charted by Sarah, the Stitchin' Mommy. Thank you again, Sarah, for being willing to do that for me. And I believe it will be available in her shop to purchase at some time in the near future, if it's not already. And I really am pleased with how it turned out. So then the other thing I've worked on actual stitching wise is Minnie the Library, which is by Auguste Toulamouche, I believe. It's a Heaven and Earth Designs pattern. I am doing it on 18 count easy guide 2/1 full cross, and with the called for threads. I have made a fair bit of progress on this, and I'm kind of trying to force myself to work up in here and get this section down as far, but I really want to work right about here. I'm so close. Her head is right in here. I can see it on the pattern, but I'm trying to make myself fill in more of that and get it down so that it stays pretty. I mean, I have this, as you can see, down quite a ways, so I want to get this down further. The nice thing about this is there are some large blocks of color, so it stitches pretty fast. You're not changing your threads a ton. and I really enjoy it. I believe I am, let's look and see what the magic number, I think I'm about 16% done with this. I have reached the far edge, so all of this is just extra fabric. I will continue to work on that, and I think I might just work on it through the end of the year. I have 2 Whip Go goals left on my board. I'm actually ahead on my Whip Go board because I had some goals on, I think it was the Wow piece. There were like 500 stitches. I think I had that on there 2 or 3 times, and I took that camping with us a couple of times, and I was able to knock quite a few stitches out, so I marked those off already. The 2 goals I have left are to do my last Christmas ornament and to do 4 hours on This Is the Day. So I am hoping actually to do and complete both of those goals this month and spend the rest of the year probably just working on Minnie the Library, although I also would like to work on this piece. I was trying to participate in Storytime September, I think was what she was calling it. It was Leanne Stitches, who is also Forbidden Fiber Co. It was her birthday in September, and she was doing Storytime September, and I identified 4 pieces that I have that would be related to books and reading. Minnie the Library, the baby sampler, this piece, which is the bookshelf. This is a Little House Needleworks piece, and Mini Village Bookstore. And so I pulled this one out, and I got it all, you know, I got my fabric on my hoop, and I got my threads all gathered up, but I never did have time to start it. It is my hope that I can actually still start it yet this year, because now that I've done all that work, I really do want to start it. The other things I accomplished in the area of cross stitching were getting some things finished, or at least making progress on that. I am working on getting You Knit Me put onto some foam core. I still have to figure out what I'm going to do with this. I'm not for sure yet. I'm thinking I'm going to make some kind of flat fold, so put another something behind it, but this is as far as we've gotten. We have 4 pins and a piece of foam core board. I'm a little, I don't know, there's a couple of spots. I almost think that the dye from, I don't know if you can see that right there. I don't know if the dye from this is Threadworks. I don't know if when I ironed it, some of the dye got displaced. I'm not sure. I fully finished Give Thanks by Teresa Kogut. I had finished this one a while ago. I found this very cool pumpkin plaque at Hobby Lobby. I bought it and I put this on here. I really, really love how this looks. But sometimes Katrina needs to slow down and maybe think more before she does stuff. I put this on here thinking that I had the piece like centered and, you know, square with the pumpkin. Only if I want to use this handy dandy hole that's in the stem to hang it on the wall, it sits cockeyed. I should have hung it on the wall and then figured out, but I didn't think about that. And it's basically hot glued on there. So right now I just have it sitting in our bay window. It seems to sit up fine. So far the cat hasn't knocked it over. And I don't know. If I were to hang it on the wall, I feel like I could put a piece of 3M Velcro on the back and then a piece of 3M Velcro on the wall to like hold it in the position I want it. But that seems like a lot of work, and I would have to take it down every year because obviously I'm not going to leave this up all year. I'll leave this, this will be a fall, like September through November type of decor piece. But anyway, I am pretty pleased with how it turned out, and I think it looks really cool. I got that done. And then I framed the first wow piece that I had finished a while ago. These frames, my husband helped me pick out these frames at Hobby Lobby. He felt that the rustic wood really went well with these pictures, and I agree. This is the one that I forgot to do the back stitch on, and so at this point I am not adding the back stitch, but I feel like I could take it back out of the frame and back stitch it if I need to later. If after I get the second one done, and I have to stitch both of these pieces a second time for my son, so I will back stitch his, and if after I've back stitched the second version, if my husband says, oh, I do wish mine had the back stitching, I will go back and add it. This, oh, just gave myself a sliver. Okay, that hurt. I still have to put something on the back, but did get that framed. And my goal, I actually have the second frame for the second piece already. We bought two. We should have bought four, but we bought two. I want to take both of those down and hang them up. I'm assuming they're going to be hung up by his computer. And I want to hang them up and get them out of here. And I'm going to hang the one frame up empty, and then when I'm ready for it, I'll just take it back down and put the thing in it. That is what I worked on in cross stitching. Then I know that a video or so ago I talked about wanting to restart Sunlight Sonata by Tilton Crafts, and I even put out, I asked for people's opinions on what I wanted to do it on a hand-dyed fabric because of all of the white, and I wanted to do it on 18 count Aida because I'm getting old, I guess, and I can't see. I did finally get the fabric. It's darker than I thought it was going to be, even though I don't even know what's accurate. This is called Lemongrass, and this was not actually what I ordered. It has some very nice, I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick it up, it has some very nice modeling in it. I ordered it, I probably didn't do this the right way. I ordered this via Etsy, and then I messaged the seller, and I should have done a little more research because it looks like they actually have their own website. And I think had I ordered it through their website, I probably could have saved myself some shipping because I probably could have made arrangements to just pick it up or meet them somewhere and get it. Because they are literally like 8 miles down the road. But when I messaged her and asked her if there was some way we could do that, she said Etsy requires them to print a mailing label, so she couldn't do that. Then also I asked her, when I messaged her, I said, I want the lightest green you have. And she said that this one was probably lighter than the green that I had ordered, which I don't remember now what that was called. Here is the name, Garibaldi's Needleworks, and I guess their website was on there also, if anybody's interested. So I think next time I think I want fabric, I may just try to go straight to their website and order that way, because I have a feeling I could work out some way to not have to pay shipping. It came, I don't know, it took several weeks, but I mean their website says it will take several weeks. This does say all of our fabrics are color fast and fade resistant. So I will have to read all of the fine print on that. But the other thing that I want to try to accomplish in the next month or two is to get that gridded, because I do have a spool of the sulky sliver up there that I bought to grid that so that I can start that. My goal is to make that my new year, new start for 2026. And I can't believe we're already thinking about 2026. I think that is all in the world of cross stitch, except for I wanted to shout out a couple of people. I wanted to thank Faith from Stitching at the Cabin. No, that's not right. Faith at Stitching at the Barn. But hi, Julie, Stitching at the Cabin. Just got the two names mixed up. And if you didn't notice and you're a follower of Julie, she just put a video up. Yay! That was the highlight of my morning yesterday at work. I watched that while I worked. Anyway, back to Faith. Stitching at the Barn gave me a beautiful shout out 2 or 3 months ago, and I forgot to mention it last month, but I wanted to mention that. Faith always has so many great projects that she's working on, and she does not only cross stitch, but she also makes some beautiful cards. So if you haven't visited Faith before, please be sure to do that. And I also wanted to mention that if you ever follow Terry Lee Crafts and or Joe, I think her last name is Gregoire. They've each had their own channels, and at one point they did do Flosstubes together, and then they went back to doing on their own because I think life got in the way, and now they're back to doing it together. So the Absent-Minded Stitchers are back in business. And so you should go check them out. Let me see who else is on my list. I think that's it, because I already mentioned Leanne and I already mentioned Sarah. So I think that I got everybody. Let's talk about knitting. So I said that the reason I hadn't done any knitting that week was because I was doing gauge swatching. I honestly don't usually gauge swatch because I'm usually making a shawl or a scarf, and I figure that gauge doesn't really matter because if it doesn't turn out exactly the same size, I'm probably okay. But I had purchased the pattern for this baby dress, and I think I showed this last time, but I had purchased that, and I really want to make it. I had purchased 2 different sets of yarn. The other set is over there in my yarn basket, but this was one. This is Baby Bee Sweet Delight Springtime Chateau. This was from Hobby Lobby, and the other yarn I bought is the same brand, it's just a different colorway. So I really don't have a lot of knowledge in the area of gauge, in the area of making things fit. And like I said, most of the time I am stitching things that they're kind of a one size fits all anyway. But I thought since this was a dress that I should probably pay a little more close attention to that. So I did a gauge swatch, and I believe the pattern said to use, I don't know, it was a really small needle it said to use, and my gauge swatch ended up like super small. When I had that many as many stitches as they said I should have, I was like 2 inches instead of 4 inches. So I kept playing with it, and then I actually read the label. Like, that would have been a smart thing to do right off the bat. And the label even says right here that for a 4-inch by 4-inch square, if you use US 6 knitting needles, you should get 23 stitches, which I was supposed to get 21 for the pattern. I did a gauge swatch and I think I got either 21 or 23. So that's what I went with. And I think I'm getting 23, so I'm getting more than I should. So maybe I should have gone down one needle size. I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where I just pray that in the end this fits the child at some point. And this particular one I'm making for my great niece. The other colorway is like blue and brown. And that one I want to make for my granddaughter. But I was going to make this one first because my great niece is, 5 months older and I thought she'd get to it faster. But I don't know, this seems really big. It seems really big. I'm making the 12-month size. It seems really big even for that. Let me double check which one I am making. Yes, I am making the 12-month size because the pattern has 3, 6, 12, 2T, and 4 on it. I don't know. Maybe it's not really big. It just seems really big to me. So I guess I'm kind of hoping that if it's too big for 12 months, you'll still be able to wear it at some point, maybe 18 month or when she's 2. I don't know. It's a cute, it has these little bobbles. There should be 4 bobbles right there. Sometimes they pop through the back. Yep, there's one popped through the back. No. Let me see. Let me get all 4 of them. There's like 4 bobbles and some little lacy stuff there all along the bottom. And then now I'm just at the point where I am knitting. I'm supposed to knit until I get to like 11. I'm supposed to knit until I get to 11 1/4 inches, which is going to be a while. But again, I'm just praying that this fits. I do feel like I've made good progress on this in the time that I've worked on it. But these bobbles were not hard, but they were hard on my hands. I did find that I could only do 2 or 3 of those, and I'd have to kind of take 2 or 3 like sections of them, and then I'd kind of have to take a break because they kind of would hurt my hands. So that's what I've been working on in the world of knitting. But then one of my coworkers gave me the sweetest gift for my granddaughter, and I thought this was so cute. She gave me this little hoodie sweater thingy. So cute. She said she made it. I didn't even know that this woman knit. So I'm super excited about this. I'll give this to them when I see them next. And our baby can wear it to keep her warm this coming winter. So yeah, really excited about that and thought that was super cute. I have not made any cards. I have not done any quilting, but hold 1 minute. Sorry for the crinkling. I'll try not to make it too loud. I just bought today's Monday, Friday. My mom has been up here camping for 2 weeks and she's here for this next week. And we went on Friday over to this place in Saginaw called Pride and Country, which is like a collection of little stores that have decor and all kinds of things. But on the way back, we stopped at the quilt store in Merrill and I bought this pattern. Don't really have a reason to need this pattern, but I thought it was cute and it looked easy. And there are directions. There are directions in here for either a runner, placemats, or a doll quilt. But I feel like you could actually just keep expanding it and make any size quilt. And I thought it looked like it would be a great, like, almost like stash buster. I have a lot of fat quarters because that year when my mom and I did that shop hop, I kept buying fat quarters because I wanted to buy stuff at the stores to support them. But sometimes a fat quarter isn't enough for a quilting pattern. And then I found this panel. I didn't need another panel. Didn't need another winter panel, but I couldn't resist. Can't see it all. I am a graduate of Saginaw Valley State University. We were the Cardinals, so I not only just love Cardinals, but they also have special meaning to me. And I thought this was really pretty and would be just another option for my spot where I'm making panel quilts to hang. I still don't have the other winter one done, and I need to get on that because winter's coming fast. So I bought that, and hopefully soon I will get myself in gear and get at least one of these winter panels made up so that I can hang it in another month and a half when it's time to get the Christmas stuff out. I have one other crafty thing that I want to talk about before I talk about what books I read. This morning, I'm home today. It's Monday, October 13th. I am home today because I had to work yesterday, so I took today off in lieu of yesterday. For the last month, I have been so tired. And I know that some of that is just being a woman of a certain age. I've had nights where I just can't sleep. I'm tired, but I can't seem to fall asleep and whatnot. And even when I do have a good night's sleep, I will many times wake up and just be like, I'm so tired. I feel like I could just lay here for another 2 or 3 hours and sleep. And as I looked ahead, I didn't have any time when I could do that until today. So I told my husband, I said, Monday, I have the day off. I am not setting an alarm, and I am going to sleep until I don't want to sleep anymore, and I am going to lay in bed until I don't want to lay there anymore. And I did, and it felt good, although, it's now 1 o'clock and I barely have anything done to show for my day, but that's okay. I feel like we all need days like this once in a while. As I was laying there this morning, at one point I did turn on my radio, on my clock radio. I'm not sure why I turned it on. I ended up turning it back off because they were talking about Israel or something, and not that I don't care, because I do. It was like, I don't want to listen to something that heavy right now. I'm still half asleep. I just want to relax. But while I did have it on, they had an advertisement for a program that was coming up at 10 o'clock called On Point. And this was NPR public radio. That's what my clock radio is set to. It has been for years, partly because at the other house, that was about the only station I could consistently get on my clock radio. But I do enjoy listening to public radio from time to time. And they said that today on Point, they were going to be talking about hobbies. And I thought, I want to listen to that. Well, I did end up listening to that program. And I would like to encourage anyone who might be interested to go listen to that. I believe you could get to it through the On Point podcast website, and I will try to remember to list the link to the podcast episode right below. It was an hour-long episode, and they talked all about hobbies and how they're important. They are good for our health. Yes! So now next time my husband says, you're just playing with your threads, I'm going to be like, yes, but it's good for my health. So there is that. It was a very interesting episode, and actually I think I will go back and re-listen to it, because also in the middle of listening to that, the group chat from work went off, and there was something that happened at work last night. And so I ended up engaging with that and only half listening to the podcast at times. So I think I will go back and re-listen. But it was very good, and it was all very much justifying our craftiness and how it is actually good for us to do these crafts and these hobbies. So a good listen if anybody has time to go listen to that. The last thing I'll talk about today is the books I've read up to now. I've read or listened to, I have 7 on there, but I want to make sure to cover the last 2 weeks also. So I think it's probably more like 9. I listened to Lark Rise to Candleford by Flora Thompson. And if I mentioned this one before, I apologize. This is definitely a case of I would recommend watching the TV miniseries and not bothering with the book. It was actually a 3-book series, and the first 2 books, there were characters I recognized from the TV show, but none of the events were in the TV show. And it felt like it just dragged on and on in some spots. I love the TV show. It's a BBC production. It's several years old now. It's one of my favorites though, and I probably watch it every 2 or 3 years. But I would say that's definitely a case of watch the videos, don't bother with the books. I read A Wager with the Matchmaker by Jody Headland, I believe. Yes, that was book 3 in a series called A Shanahan Match. It was very good, as were the other 2 books in the series. It's about some Irish immigrants in St. Louis, Missouri. But they're pretty well-to-do, a pretty well-to-do family. The whole series was very good. I would recommend that one. Then I've been working my way through the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. I read book 6. I am currently reading book 7 right now. I finished The Secret Garden devotional. It was really good. I think it's Rachel Dodge. Yes, Rachel Dodge has written three or four of those. One was Anne of Green Gables, one was Little Women, and then this one. And I've enjoyed all of those. She kind of goes chapter by chapter in the book, and she draws analogies from the book and makes it a devotional. They're very well done, and I like them. Then I read a book called Lisa and the Spy. This is a novella that precedes a series called A Lady Winwood's Spies, or Lady Winwood's Spies. I think the series name is Lady Winwood's Spies. And this is a novella that precedes that. And then after I finished that one, I read one called The Spinster's Christmas, which was also a novella that precedes the series. And then I think there's one more novella that precedes the series, and then the series starts. And I want to read this series. I need to do more research on this, but from what I understand, there was a time in history, and maybe it was about the time Jane Austen was writing, I'm not sure, that books were actually released like as a serial. A chunk would come out every week or every month. And that is how this Lady Winwood's Spies series has been written. It's a modern, like the lady is still writing them now, but they're written in such a way that the story is complete, but yet the story is not complete. When you get to the end of the book, I believe they all end on a cliffhanger, so you need to read the next book to find out what happened. And they're Victorian Christian fiction, but I enjoyed the 2 novellas, so I think I will enjoy the series. I have been buying them for the library, so I kind of feel like I need to read them. And so that's kind of where I was starting. I'm trying to read them in order, and that's why I started with those novellas. I read Tempest at Annabelle's Lighthouse by Jamie Jo Wright, and if you like slightly creepy, slightly scary, but not really scary and not really too creepy, this is a book for you. I am not really into... I don't like anything scary. I don't watch scary movies. I don't like scary books. This one is just tame enough for me, though. And actually, this was a really, excuse me. This is a really fun read because it takes place in the Porcupine Mountains in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. which I actually have not ever been to the Porcupine Mountain area in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I'd really like to go visit that area. But it was still fun to read a book set in my own state. Again, it's Christian fiction, so although there are ghosts, in the end, everything is explained. How, what appeared to be a supernatural really wasn't. Honestly, in the end, I kind of thought, this is kind of like Scooby-Doo. I mean, like in the end of every Scooby-Doo episode, everything could be explained. It was some local person who was doing something, and it, seemed scary, but it was just this person trying to trick everyone else. And that's kind of what this was, but I mean, it wasn't hokey in any way. It was a good book, and I enjoyed it. Then I read a book called These Tangled Threads by Sarah Loudon Thomas, and this one was set in the area of the Biltmore Estate. It was pretty good. It kind of had 3 different timelines, which at times kind of confused me, but other than that, it was good. I listened to a book called The Rose and the Thistle by Laura France, and this one took place like 1700s maybe. And so at first I was having a hard time kind of getting into it, but after a bit I did start to get into it, and it was pretty good. I am currently reading I'm currently listening to Wuthering Heights because, I've been trying to listen to or read a classic or 2 every year, and I don't know, it's really weird. It's strange. I'm actually at the point where and I started to do this yesterday, and then I got sidetracked by something else. I want to look up like a Spark Notes and read through that, each chapter, like maybe right before I listen to it. I think I would understand what's going on a little bit better. I'm kind of, in a way, I'm a little bit lost. I'm not entirely lost, but I'm kind of like, I'm still unsure who belongs, who is connected to who, and who is doing what. It's kind of odd. And then, like I said, I'm reading the next Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, and I'm reading a book of short stories by L.M. Montgomery called Across the Miles. She is the author of Anne of Green Gables, and I usually enjoy her stuff, and this is one I hadn't read, so I think that gets me caught up to did I get them all? I feel like there was one other book in there that I read that I didn't tell you about, but nope, that's all of them. I didn't miss any. I think that's it. And I apologize for the end of this being so long. I will try to get myself back on track next month. And until then, happy crafting!